Alright, shalom, shalom. Giving all glory and all praise to Yahweh, who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay. In today's video presentation, I'm going to go over another piece of artifact to further prove that we were in captivity, or the Israelites were in bondage and in captivity in Egypt. But before I could go ahead and go over the little piece of artifact, I'm going to go ahead and read Revelations chapter 12, verse 16. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 16, it says, "And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth." Now, when you read Revelation 12 and 16, when it speaks about the earth opening the woman, that's going into all the archaeology that will come for our earth. The archaeology, the anthropology, the paleography, you name it. That will further validate and prove the validity of the Holy Scriptures, because all the information and the primary documentation and sources is out there for you to research to prove that all the stories of the Scriptures definitely happened. And the Bible is not a plagiaristic connection of ancient Kemetic writings or ancient Kemet. In other words, the Scripture was not plagiarized from either ancient Kemet or ancient Sumer. I mean, all the research has already been done. I mean, there's 7 different books that you could purchase, and we should go ahead and check out all these different artifacts, okay, to prove Israelites' captivities amongst the Babylonians, the Greco-Roman Empire, you name it, okay. So that's what it speaks about when it says that the earth will have the woman, and the red dragon is going over the white man, but that's a whole other topic and subject matter. Now, which brings me up to the broken papyrus, or the papyrus broken 351446. So here you have a piece of artifact to prove that we were in the land of Egypt or ancient Kemet. Now, this piece of artifact further proves that we were in captivity in the land of Egypt. And here's what it says. It says, matter of fact, it's on BibleArchaeologyReport.com. And it says, central to the Exodus account is the presence of what? Of Israelites in Egypt. To begin with, the Bible describes Joseph's entrance to Egypt as a slave. You can read that in Genesis chapter 37, verse 28. His rise to power, Genesis 41, verse 41. His initiative in bringing his family to Egypt, Genesis 45, verse 18. Their subsequent growth, Exodus chapter 1, verse 7. And eventual bondage, Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. Some scholars, however, do not believe the Israelites were ever in Egypt. For example, in a 1999 article in Haaretz, Ze'ev Harads boldly declared, "This is what archaeologists have learned from their excavations in the land of Israel. The Israelites were never in Egypt. They did not wander in the desert. They did not conquer the land in a military campaign, and did not pass it on to the 12 tribe of Israel." I mean, you're always going to have an opposition of scholars who are going to go out on a campaign to try to dismiss the Holy Scriptures by saying that these stories were fabricated and these stories in general never happened or never took place. It's nothing new to that. And this is where these niggas from the house of consciousness, the Kemetic Egyptology niggas, get all your information from. You're getting information from these white European scholars to perpetuate this falsehood. Matter of fact, there's also a list of different white people, Caucasian, Europeans. I think it might have been around the late 1700s and the beginning of 1800s. They were the ones who started pushing this narrative about the Holy Scriptures being false. So this is where all these different cats get all this information from. But I'm going to continue on. And it says that there is evidence, however, of the Israelites in Egypt. The Brooklyn Papyrus 35 1446 is an Egyptian document written in Heretic script that names 95 household servants of noblemen named Senebitsi. 40 of the names are what? I'm going to repeat again. 40 of the names are what? Semitic Hebrew. They're written in the Hebrew. 40 of the names mentioned in the Book of Papyrus are Semitic Hebrew names. And Hebrew is a Semitic language. And several have been identified as what? As Hebrew names. These include Meha, Hema, a feminine form of the Hebrew name Meahem. 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 14. A woman whose name is parallel to Issachar, one of Jacob's sons. Hold on. Genesis chapter 30, verse 18. And Shiphrah, the name of one of the Hebrew midwives prior to the Exodus. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15. To be clear, this papyrus dates to the 13th dynasty, 1809 to 1743 BC, just after the time of Joseph, and does not refer to the Hebrew slaves at that time of Moses. Titus Kennedy summarizes its importance. This list is a clear attestation of what of Hebrew people living in Egypt prior to the Exodus, and it is an essential piece of evidence and an argument of an historical Exodus. The information is out there for you to check out, okay? And if you want to check out this primary source, all you got to do is check it out for yourself at the Brooklyn Museum in Brooklyn, New York. And the reason why it's also known as 35 1446 is because the Exodus happened in 1446 BCE. And it says that the papyrus Brooklyn, let me see if I can highlight it over here. Hold on. All right. The papyrus Brooklyn 35 1446 records the names of 95 household slaves, including some that are white Hebrew. Photo at the Brooklyn Museum. So this is a primary source. And this is a primary documentation to further validate and further prove that we were in Egypt, we were enslaved in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet. And there is documentation out there to further validate and prove the validity of the Bible or the Holy Scriptures. At the end of the day, the information will prevail, okay? And the remnant of the house of Israel, and who are the Israelites? Those whose paternal lineages or paternal bloodline have the genetic marker or the DNA, the Y DNA E marker, E1B1, whose ancestors came over here and cargoed slave ships. So the remnant of those Israelites are going to receive this information. They're going to come back and keep the law, statutes, commandments of the Creator to the best of their ability. And all the other believers out there of the house of the consciousness or the Black conscious movement, that I call the Black unconscious movement, this is going to die. We're just going to get judged. Good written. I mean, the documentation is out there for you to verify and to check. Anyway, I'm not going to make this video too long, so I'm going to end this video presentation right now. And I'm going to say shalom. And with that, I'll see you on the next video.